What's going on, everyone? Big day today. The first look at WWE Revolution from 2023 is here, and there's some bangers involved. Some things that I didn't really expect, but it's something that I think could be a huge, huge addition to this market. And I think it's going to drive a lot of attention to this set for the first time. Last year's Revolution was a surprise. Like, let me just say that because we were into Prism, we were having just an amazing time sort of seeing the initial sort of launch that Prism had, even though it kind of fell off as things got going. Like, while when Revolution was announced, like Prism was still very much in the throes of this really giant boom to start the license. Revolution came out, it was already above where I thought the box price should be, but people really loved the product. And more importantly, it included some of those hobby standards like galactics and other things that drive just an enormous amount of value outside of the WWE and the NBA and the NFL. So over time, people kind of lost interest in Revolution, and I'm not surprised. It's not the type of set that you would expect to really drive the type of information, type of content, type of collector response that you would normally see in a product like this. I don't even think it was designed to be that way either. Like, it was designed seemingly to deliver sort of a lower end experience, cheaper thrills, like, and it delivered that. Like, the cards did look pretty good. I'm not a huge fan of sort of like the busy stock pattern type stuff that happens on the non-chrome cards, but I thought the Galactics were some of the best cards that I saw all year. Like, the base cards, especially for the Galactics, just blew me away. And I think to see them bringing it back for 2023 is a little bit of a surprise as well. So the release calendar is likely going to shape up very similarly to what it did last year. So you're going to see Prism come out, you're going to see Revolution come out, and then you're going to see Select, followed by a couple of other things. Lucas on a previous conversation that he's had on this channel, I think that they were previewing one set to really be the one that they switch out. I thought it was going to be this set. It could be NXT, it could be Impeccable. I don't think it's going to be Chronicles, and I definitely don't think it's going to be Immaculate. So I'm curious to see kind of how that all plays out. But I want to get into the preview, so let's get started there. Really excited to walk through. All right, let's talk about the base design, which obviously I think is really the main thing in the set, right? It drives a ton of parts of the product, and it really is the place that I think we see a lot of the major action happen because of the Galactics. So this design is very similar to last year. That's pretty standard for Revolution. The design for the base cards doesn't change much. We are seeing some updated photos. We're seeing some updated group shots. Like the NWO card, I think that everybody will get excited about is really cool. I also think that a lot of the ways that we're seeing this product play out is going to be very similar to what we expected Revolution to look like. I mean, it's very sort of like circular in the designs. There's some gold accents. Like, a lot of this stuff really falls in line with what we're seeing from a base perspective. And I think that as you get into the parallels with Lava and Galactics and so on and so forth, that's really what drives the majority of the box. You're going to have all of these different variations that you will see throughout the product. And, that's not going to change either. So from a base perspective, if you ripped a ton of Revolution last year, it's likely that you're going to see the same thing happen this year. All right, let's talk about autographs, because this is where things usually don't play very well in Revolution, because the autographs are usually only about 4 to 6 per case. There's a ton of boxes in a case. I think last year, you were seeing multiple runs of people's breaks not have any autographs because Revolution isn't a hit per box type of product. I think there's 2 inner cases usually, and each inner case, about half the boxes were delivering autographs. In wrestling, that's a big deal because for so much of the wrestling hobby, this is what is delivered on by every collector. Every collector longs to chase the autographs. And I think that as we are looking at a product that doesn't deliver an autograph per box, it's hard to keep up the box price. So then you have to look to the chase elements, which we'll get to here in a second. But I think the autographs look great. I think they look better than they did last year. We are seeing some first shots of Becky on her return as part of the preview. Obviously, I think that was put in for a reason. But it's a great shot. It's a great shot of The Undertaker. So I think we're going to have, for the first time, a combination of kind of these render photographs, which are from the WWE database, combined with some of the photographs that we're seeing coming from the events themselves. So we're also going to see the 101s really be, I would guess, autograph specific like they were last year. I don't think the parallel structure is going to change there much. So take a look at those autographs. I think they're really cool. I think they look better than last year, so that's a plus. But I think I'm still yet to discuss the real chase for this product, and I'll come to that here in a second. When you look at the general landscape of Panini products, there's really 2 to 3 elements that people really gravitate towards. One of them is the gold, so like select gold, prism gold, like stuff like that. There's a huge chase element built into a lot of those cards. Like they've become a hobby standard. The others are these like chase inserts, like you have Color Blast, you have Downtowns, you have Kabooms, you have all of these other things. For a while, the only ones we had in WWE were really the Color Blast. That's going to change for Revolution. And as we have speculated in some of the panel discussions that we've talked about previously, Kabooms are one of those cards that drives huge value outside of WWE. We're talking for the golds and the greens, which are the 10s and the 101s. Like those cards can reach a 5-figure level, just like they have in some of the other major inserts like the Downtowns and other things as well. WWE may not have that market to support something like that, but I can tell you there is going to be a lot of people looking to pick up Kabooms of their major stars like The Rock, like Roman Reigns, like you name it. Plus, you're going to have all the WWE crossover collectors like myself who see the value that Kabooms are driving in other sports, wanting to get into them here. So the preview that we have is for The Rock, and it hits everything that a Kaboom is supposed to deliver. For me, I've never really been a fan of these cards. Like I think they look kind of weird. But from a hobby standard perspective, like that will trump a lot of what other people are feeling about this design. Overall, bringing Kabooms to a product like this is absolutely the right decision. It will bring the box value up. It'll bring the chase up. It'll bring every aspect of the product up. And not only that, but it will bring in more people who want to get into the Kaboom game for WWE. There are people who only collect the Kabooms in NFL and NBA. They were digital exclusives in UFC and sold really well. So I think we're going to see a lot of parallels drawn between the way that they're released in NFL and NBA, which is in the absolute product line, on UFC, which is kind of like a digital exclusive, or in WWE, which is a part of Revolution. For a set like this that doesn't have a draw that lasted the whole year, I think adding something like a Kaboom to this is a really, really big deal. So from a chase perspective, these are going to be really rare. They're going to be really tough to get, and they're going to come out and they're going to be really expensive. So the checklist is going to be a key factor here. I'm curious to see who's on that. Clearly, we're going to have The Rock, which is probably the biggest name you can put on it. So I'm glad they started with the top guy, but it could be Hogan, it could be Roman Reigns, it could be all of these types of people. You're going to have a lot of stuff to parse through on this checklist and determine where you expect the box prices to land. I think they'll probably start, because of the Kabooms, above $100. I think they'll probably come down significantly. This is one of those products I would guess boxes will start high and come down, because Revolution just isn't one of those products that drives those humongous chases like we see in Prism and Select and Immaculate and Impeccable. Like the chases are the Galactics and the Kabooms now. I don't think that has translated as well as much as I thought that they would. Like people love the cards and are trying to pick up their favorites because they're so rare and they're so hard to find. But I still don't think the value is reflecting there, because many wrestling collectors don't have that context from the other sports to say, hey, a first Galactic for Steph Curry sells for a ton of money. First Galactic for Tom Brady sells for a ton of money. LeBron James, like that didn't transfer over the same way that I thought it would. So when you look at like the way that this product is built, the Galactics and the Kabooms are really the only chase. And it's one of the things that I think wrestling collectors don't gravitate towards, or haven't gravitated towards leading up to this. But I think Kaboom is a little bit of a different story than what we saw earlier. So we could see a lot of movement here. We could see some volatility in the market, but expect that to happen because of these chase cards. Lastly, I want to talk about the inserts because I think some of them look really cool. Like last year, the inserts were some of my favorite parts of Revolution. I thought they had great photos that they chose for the renders that they used in those pictures of each individual wrestler. They had a lot of really cool parallels, a lot of really cool sort of designs and themes. I think the finishers for this year, the stargazing for this year, they look really good. And if you saw the way the inserts performed in Revolution, like they weren't a top draw, but they looked really cool. So I think that that's exactly the way that we're expecting these to sort of play out now. Listen, this set has a lot of fun stuff included on it. It's probably going to be significantly cheaper than you would see for something like Prism or something like Select. So, get your cheap thrills in while you can. Like a lot of people like to rip this by the case because, you only get 4 to 6 autographs. You only get this and that and the other thing. But, the checklists usually are pretty small. The base checklists are a little bit larger, but the autographs and the major stuff, like it's usually a smaller checklist and it's more compact. They also have really inexpensive access to autographs from like last year had Stone Cold Steve Austin. This year already we're going to get The Undertaker. There were Hulk Hogan autographs last year. So like for a $60 box, which is where this kind of fell into, like that's a pretty good value to be able to deliver a chance at some of those autographs without having to pay $500 for Impeccable, $500 for Immaculate, $250 to $500 for Select and Prism. Like all of that stuff is really accessible in the set, and I think it's going to have a lot of fun aspects just with the addition of some of these other chases for collectors just to have fun ripping these boxes instead of trying to make money like they would on Prism or products. Overall, I'm excited. I'm excited because the new WWE product. I always get excited for new WWE products. I think post-mortem will have a lot more feedback. But I mean, I can't complain. Like I think Panini is taking this to the next level with the addition of these chase cards. The Kabooms have a humongous hobby following. So I think like there's a lot here to be, hey, this is a really interesting sort of twist. And if they're going to swerve us, I'm glad they're swerving us with a hobby standard like a Kaboom is. Even though I'm not a huge fan of it, even though I'll probably pick up a Becky Lynch if they're included, like it's still something that I know has a greater influence on the hobby in general, and these cards drive a huge amount of value. So if there's big parallels and there's stuff like that, and people are catching on, like the Galactics look awesome, they go back to the first set, you may see some of those values pick up. Like overall, this is a win. Like why wouldn't it be? It's cheap fun, so have a good time while you can. Stay tuned for more. We'll have a checklist review video. We'll have everything as we normally do, post-mortems. We'll have some panel discussions. So stay tuned to this channel, like and subscribe. I mean, we're going to continue to offer a bunch of content on this channel. And I think it's a really key element of kind of what we're trying to do with wrestling trading cards as a group is like educate collectors and really bring people into the know about some of the hobby contexts that are important around these cards. And I think that this set is one of those sets that needs that context, right? Because you're having Galactics, you're having the Kabooms that are hobby standards outside of the WWE. Some wrestling collectors may not have that experience. So putting out videos like this is what I'm trying to do in terms of educating individuals. So stay tuned. Excited to see that. We'll have more videos coming up shortly.